So I went to school in the little building at the bottom of Paul's Way. It was a one-room schoolhouse. It had a two-holer attached to the building, so the bathroom was basically a outhouse, but it was attached to the building. And it was, I think at the time, the building was owned by the American Legion, and the town didn't have enough room in the schools, so that was an expansion, and they just put first grade in there. And there was a fence around the building to keep the cows out. Paul McQuain's farm was there, a dairy farm, and about once a month, a couple cows would get through the fence. And that was always exciting because we'd all get to go out and herd the cows back out through the gap in the fence. And most of the kids were farm family kids, so they knew enough about that to hook the barbed wire back up. But the school was growing. The town had, people were arriving with kids. So the main school was where the Dorset post office is now. And that was 4 rooms, 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs, with 8 grades in it. And it was just packed, 2 grades per room, and there just wasn't room. So they put the first grade just to relieve the pressure in the one-room schoolhouse. So I'm one of the last of a generation that went to a one-room schoolhouse. Had an oil burner in it, and the first kid to come in the morning would go in and light the oil burner to get the room warmed up. It seemed like sort of an archaic existence, but we were, not suffering at all. It was, so the parents would bring a hot lunch on, 11:30 or 11:45, and so there'd be a lunch for the kids. I guess some days we brought bag lunches. I can't remember how that program worked. But there was a big movement to build a new school. And remember, Dorset is 2 parts, Dorset and East Dorset. The way King George divided up southern Vermont, divided up a lot of Vermont, was just with a ruler with no thought to the hills and the valleys and the ridges. So, a little part of Rupert is on this side of Rupert Mountain, and a little part of East Dorset is on the other side of Morse Hill. There's lots of illogical layouts of towns that have no relation to the logical geography. But East Dorset had a school, Dorset had a school, and we wanted to build a school, a big school, a new school for both. And finally they came up with a compromise to build the Dorset Elementary School halfway up Morse Hill where it is today. But it took about 5 years of fighting between Dorset and East Dorset to get to a final solution. So I remember that was one of the first political battles that I sort of was aware of, because my parents were in favor of a new school, and they had to get the voters of East Dorset to approve, because a big population in East Dorset. That used to be as big as Dorset when the marble industry was thriving. The town of East Dorset was probably bigger than downtown Dorset. Even though Dorset had its own marble industry, East Dorset had a pretty big marble industry at the time.